Well, I was in the BBC studio where the results were coming in, and I was there on the panel kind of reacting. And to be honest, I wasn't terribly surprised, because I'd been saying for some time that I felt the campaign had gone, and that there were just too many people who were no longer listening to arguments, who didn't really care what the facts were. They were just going to go with this kind of emotional thing, with this sort of ball that was rolling. I think as it sunk in, though, and fun enough, where are we now? Sunday. Today worse than Friday. Just feeling absolutely just shocked that we've made such a catastrophically stupid decision, and that we're just, I think the world is looking on and thinking, yeah, you know, didn't you used to be a serious country? And I also think there's an awful lot of buyer's remorse going on. I mean, it makes you weep, but I was just on the way here earlier bumping into a woman who stopped me and said, you know, she felt really bad because she voted Leave. And I said, oh, well, why did you do that then? And she said, well, I didn't realise that if you voted Leave, it meant you had to leave. And you think, oh, my God. And all these people who fell for all these lies about, you know, we send £350 million a week to the European Union when we don't. We can spend that money on the health service when it doesn't exist. And that one's already unravelled. The promises that they made on immigration have already unravelled. It's a catastrophe, and I think we're only at the beginning of the consequences playing out, I think.
Can this be reversed in any way? Is there any means to reversal? Is this petition at least the beginning of it, or any other ways?
I think it's very hard to see that. I mean, the petition is an expression of shock and anger. There is a real anger at the fact that all these warnings that we made, that the other side just dismissed as Project Fear, and all the lies that they told. And listen, I've been involved in a lot of campaigns, and I'm an absolute believer in tough campaigning and robust campaigning. But these people just, they fought on a pack of lies. They literally fought on a pack of lies. And I just think that the public are going to get angrier. The public can get angry about this. Now, there's still some people who think it's great. They believe all this stuff about we've got our country back, sovereignty, blah, 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 blah. But I think you're going to see people realising that we really have shot ourselves in the foot economically, what sort of society we are, what sort of country we are. We're seeing a whole kind of wave of quite small but disgusting racially motivated incidents happening around the country. Kids being given letters by grown-ups, in quotes, saying, why haven't you gone home yet? We voted to get rid of people like you. I mean, it's just disgusting what's been unleashed. You know...
Just to jump in there, you've said in the last little while, if Boris is Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, I'll be ashamed to be British. Well, there'll be a number of people there in Britain, clearly those who voted Leave, who won't be ashamed, that they'll be feeling thrilled to have someone like that as their leader.
Well, the only thing I'd say about that is that when Boris Johnson was running to be Mayor of London and winning 2 elections, he was Mr. Modern Progressive Conservative. He was, I get the young people. He was the guy that young people liked because he was funny and you'd get a selfie with him and all that crap. But now, young people are absolutely furious with him. I've got kids in their 20s. I know a lot of young people through them, and I know a lot of young people anyway. He is going to become a hate figure for them. You saw that. He was really shocked when he came out of his house on Friday morning, and there was a spontaneous protest outside his house of young people on their way to work screaming dog's abuse at him. And the other thing I'd say is that the Tory party very rarely rewards the people who wield the knife on their previous leaders. John Major came through the middle. Margaret Thatcher actually was a bit of a surprise when she became leader of the Conservative Party. So I don't think it's in the bag for him at all. And I think he's gone overnight from being a lovable rogue to being an utterly divisive figure. And he has unleashed all this stuff. He has to take responsibility. And not only has he been opportunistic, unprincipled and irresponsible, he's also, over the weekend, shown himself to be utterly spineless. We've seen him on the television every hour in the last few weeks, and now he's gone to ground. He played cricket yesterday, very British, and now he's off somewhere, presumably planning his leadership bid. And do you know what I think is the truth about Boris Johnson and Michael Gove? I think they were hoping for a 51-49 in, so that we didn't have all this chaos, but Cameron was weakened and he could knock him out. And I think he's as unprincipled as that.
Let's turn to the Labor leadership. What do you make of this cascade of resignations from the Labor shadow cabinet? Are those resigning doing the right thing? And should Jeremy Corbyn stay?
Well, I don't think Jeremy Corbyn should stay because, I mean, I've kept my counsel on this as well, and I'm in a different position to most of them because I'm not an MP. I'm not involved in the way that I used to be when I was working for full-time for the Labour Party and the Labour government. But it's obvious to everybody that, and I think the referendum campaign merely confirmed what a lot of us have thought for some time, that he can't do the job. He can't lead the Labour Party. He can't motivate them. He can't do the policy work that needs to be done. And we showed you in the referendum campaign the idea that he is the guy to win back these white working class voters, particularly in the North and the Midlands and parts of Wales and parts of Scotland that we've lost. It's a nonsense. And so I think, you know, and the thing about Jeremy Corbyn and his supporters and these tens of thousands of people who, fair enough, he motivated them to join the party and get him elected. But they used to say that the reason they liked him is because he says what he thinks and he doesn't just sort of take the line. Well, these people who are resigning today, they're saying what they think. Having seen him up close, they know he can't do the job. And so I think they are doing the right thing because the idea, there's probably going to be a general election coming down the track sooner than people think. And I'm afraid that as we are, we don't have a hope in hell.
Well, it would seem to be chaos on both sides as well. And with you saying Labor doesn't have a hope in hell, goodness knows where that goes then. But then we've got the issue of Scotland, and Scotland suggesting this morning that they might attempt some sort of veto of the outcome because, as we all know, they don't want to leave the EU. How do you see that playing out?
I think it's complicated. This is the thing, you see. Honestly, I don't know if you followed the referendum debate itself much, but it was so dismal because we have a welter of very right-wing newspapers, some of them owned by one of your former sons, Murdoch. They lie systematically about the European Union. They whip up all this anti-immigrant stuff the whole time, which is kind of ironic. And so you've had this sort of crazy atmosphere. And so these lies that were pumped out by the Leave campaign, they weren't really challenged. And so I think that now what you're getting is we're going to have to get into the detail that wasn't got into during the campaign. I'll give you one tiny example.
Just quickly, if you can.
If you're in France, they manage our borders. Why are they going to do that now? You can come through France straight into England while you're still on French soil. Why are they going to do that now? So all these immigrants who are trying to get through France, if I were the French, they're going to say, OK, on you go. There's Britain over there.
Let's talk just quickly about the idea of contagion to other EU members. Do you imagine this Leave sentiment spreading now as a result of what's happened in Britain?
Well, I certainly imagine. I mean, it was really interesting that when the results were announced, the first European leader out of the traps to welcome it was Marine Le Pen, National Front. But we've got real problems in Britain at the moment, in Europe at the moment, with the rise of the far right. You've got it in Germany, you've got it in France, you've got it in some of the other European countries. And this has just given them a great shot in the arm. That if you really, really, really play and whip up all this fears of immigrants, then you can really make political hay. Well, have we learnt nothing? Have we learnt nothing? Have we really got such short memories that why did the European Union even come into being? Because it came into being because of history of the great powers of Europe constantly being at war, killing each other by the million. And that stopped. And of all the world leaders, there are only 3 foreign policy voices, apart from Le Pen, who really come out and welcome this. Vladimir Putin, who's sitting in the Kremlin laughing his head off. He's managed to see Eastern European Union destabilised without him lifting a finger. Donald Trump and ISIS. That is the mess we have created.
Alistair Campbell, really good to talk to you today. Thanks so much for joining us.